Do you find that the most challenging person to get along with in every day is yourself? Well, stick with me because in this episode, I want to help you to be able to solve that problem. Hi, this is Grant Herbert, Emotional Intelligence Speaker and Trainer of the Year and Master Coach Trainer. And today I want to continue our conversation around the competency of interpersonal effectiveness by helping you to realize that it all starts with you. Last week we started a conversation around interpersonal effectiveness, around getting on well with others. And we talked about some of the challenges that can bring if we're not able to do that. And as I said, as we go on this journey this month together, I want to chunk down into these areas and give you some practical understanding of how you can develop this competency incrementally by improving your interpersonal effectiveness. The results that you get in working with others are going to escalate exponentially. For me, this was a major area in my career where I had issue with getting on well with others. And I didn't play well because I had these uncertainties and challenges that I was working through. And it held me back, and it wasn't good for me, it wasn't good for them, and it certainly wasn't good for the greater good. So today I want to give us the foundation around this actual subject. We could jump straight in and we could learn some effective techniques on being able to work with others. But before we do that, we need to understand why it is that we find it challenging to actually use those skills. To just go ahead and build those skills without building a foundation means that you'll only get a Band-Aid fix and you won't get the results that you want long term. As I said at the start of the episode, you need to realize that it does all start with you. Yes, it's not all about you, it's about you and others. However, the root cause of issues in working with others normally stems from your identity, what it is that you believe about yourself and who you believe you are. It also stems from who you believe you're not, and that internal dialogue that goes on, that mini-me that we've talked about so many times before, convinces you, because you've trained it to, that being who you are right now is safe, and stepping outside of that is going to be uncomfortable. So let's have a look at why this is the case and what we can do about it. So it all starts with working on your own perception of yourself. A lot of times what we do is we try and get from others what we're not willing to give ourselves. We want approval from others, yet we aren't at a position of self-approval. You want people to like you, to trust you, but you don't like and trust yourself. And if your head's nodding right now, if you're agreeing with any of this, if it's resonating with you, I want you to know that I understand. And the reason I understand is twofold. One is that I'm a human being, and this is a challenge that every human being has. And number two is this was the major area that I had to work on in my own personal development before any professional development took hold and allowed me to move forward in my career. We've talked before about self-belief and about those beliefs that you have about yourself being limiting and in a lot of cases false. And those beliefs have been formed by past experiences, what you've seen, what has happened around you, what people have said to you, and then what you've made that mean about you. In any given day, when I speak to groups of people, they tell me the same thing when I ask this question, and that is, who's the most difficult person that you find to get along with day to day? And the answer is themselves. The answer is me. So this is a challenge that is common. So how you project yourself and how you think about yourself comes into play with how you work with others. And the reason that is the case is that the motive for the interaction changes. So we've got those three universal fears: the fear of not belonging, the fear of not being good enough, and the fear of not being loved. And if those are deep-seated fears that are coming out in your thinking and your behavior, then your interpersonal relationships are going to be affected, because the interactions, even though they might have an actual purpose, are tainted by a need to overcome those fears. My experience in my own life and working with others is that the more that we try and stop those things from happening, we focus on them, and therefore our behavior moves towards them. So if we don't want to be rejected, our behavior actually pushes people away. And we've talked about developing our personal power so that we can lift that identity. And that's the number one key. The first person that you need to have an effective relationship with is yourself. So to do that, we need to reverse the conditioning that's already taken place. We need to look at the things that we believe about ourselves. Remember, we talked about in the performance trap, a performance is something that you do. However, your identity is who you believe you are. It's who I believe I am. And when the identity is eroded, the platform from which we be who we need to be to get the results that we want is not conducive to getting those results. So step one is to look at any of those experiences in your life and look at the beliefs that have come out of that. What did you make that mean? So, for example, I've talked before about situations where if I saw two people over in the corner of a room, I knew that they were talking about me, and the conversation wasn't a good one. And they probably weren't talking about me at all. In fact, I wasn't even in the equation. But because I felt like I wasn't good enough, I thought that's what others would think about me as well. So as we identify these things, as you look at your identity and go, who is it that I believe I am that's holding me back from who I need to be? And to shift those beliefs and to have a look at those experiences in a different way and go, you know what? I'm okay with who I am. And get to that position of self-approval. When you get to that position of self-approval, then the dialogue will change. It's not just about how you talk to other people, it's how you talk to yourself. And that internal dialogue, that self-talk, needs to be cleaned up. Needs to be at a position where it's lifting you up, not pulling you back. Where it's reminding you of the good things about you, not of the things that you've failed. So identifying those false beliefs, retraining that mini-me and shifting that internal dialogue. That is what you need to do to have a good relationship with yourself. Interpersonal effectiveness starts with you. It starts with who you believe you are and the relationship that you have with yourself. If you're not able to get on with yourself, then it's little wonder that you wouldn't be able to get on well with others. So that's it for me for this week. Join me again next week as we continue this conversation around interpersonal effectiveness and we bring others into it and we start looking at what we can do differently so that our relationships are more mutually beneficial and there's less conflict. I'll see you then.